Ladies and gentlemen, The Chosen Season 4, Episode 1, Promises is officially available in the Chosen app. Finally! This means that everyone, including you, yes, you can watch it at home, but if you clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you may have already seen it, and you might have some questions. This episode was exposition heavy. There were a lot of setups for things that are going to be continuing throughout the rest of Season 4, and how everything's going to tie together as we get into Season 6 and 7. So, today I'm going to break down a few Easter eggs, hidden details, and things that you may have missed from Season 4, Episode 1 of The Chosen, Promises. So, hello, my name is Eli Hollingsworth. Welcome back to Against the Current, The Chosen podcast, the biggest podcast about The Chosen TV series. This is your one-stop shop for updates, hidden details, breakdowns, discussions, reviews, everything relating to The Chosen. You can get that all right here if you subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated whenever I post a new video, and you can expect every update and significant detail to be covered right here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that intro.
That his name will be John.
Not Zachariah?
First up, let's talk about Mary and Elizabeth. This whole intro scene, the cold open of episode 1, is pulled straight from Luke chapter 1. This takes place not too long after Mother Mary was visited by the angel Gabriel and told about Jesus. This whole open is basically word for word from verses 39 through 45, where Mary visits Elizabeth and John jumps in her womb. And if you're wondering what Zachariah is referring to when he can't speak and has to write on a tablet, this is referring to earlier in Luke chapter 1, verses 5 through 25, where it entails the story of the angel visiting Elizabeth and Zachariah and telling them about John's birth and what his name means. This is all very cool stuff here, and this is obviously months before we see Mary in the Chosen Christmas special, The Messengers, where she is about to give birth to Jesus, and we see the birth of Jesus at Christmas time. This is months before that, about 9 months before that, since she has just gotten pregnant with Jesus. I love to see the story included here, and I loved that this whole episode was a dedication to John the Baptist from his birth to his death and a celebration of his entire life and how he truly did prepare the way for the Messiah, his cousin, aka Jesus. If you want to hear my full thoughts and my full breakdown of every episode of The Chosen, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, you can go ahead and listen to my podcast, link down below in the description. You can hear my reviews on every little detail, every little aspect of all of these episodes, not just the highlights, not just the major points, but all the nitty-gritty stuff. And you can hear all of my opinions, what I like, what I don't like. On YouTube, I usually stay pretty positive, so you can check all of that down below in the link in the description.
Strap them down with rope.
Ah, okay. You have the rope then?
But next up, let's talk about James, John, and Zebedee's oil business. Now, this is an idea that was introduced in Season 3, where Zebedee wanted to start up an olive oil business in order to help raise funds and revenue to support Jesus and his ministry. And this is continuing here in Season 4. In Season 4, we start off with Zebedee, James, and John kind of tying down and securing some oil to take to the synagogue to appeal for it to be used to anoint the high priest and his sons, as we see later in this business deal that goes down in the synagogue. This is kind of bringing us more into the intricacies of the synagogue and the temple and the rituals used in these ceremonies for high priests and all of that stuff, into the intricacies of first century Jewish culture. Now, what is mentioned in this business deal scene is Rabbi Akiva mentions they're going to have to switch from the Gethsemane vendor to now go to Zebedee, since Zebedee is housed in Capernaum. Now, we were all kind of hoping that Zebedee's olive oil business was going to be tied in with the Garden of Gethsemane somehow, which, if you don't know, is where Jesus prayed on the night that he was crucified. We were all kind of wondering how much there was going to be a connection there, and it seems that we did get a connection. Gethsemane was name dropped in episode 1, so I don't know what this means, and I still really have no clue where Zebedee's olive oil business is going to take us as we get into seasons 5 and 6. But if you have any ideas, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. This is not just about what I think. We are a community, a family. The Chosen fan base truly is one of the greatest of all time. And it's not just about me, it's about you. So I want to hear what you think and your theories and speculations and your thoughts on everything that I share in this video. Let me know down below in the comments.
Just smile and pretend tonight. That's all I'm asking.
I understand smiling and pretending, Chusa. I've had a lot of practice doing both.
Now let's talk about Joanna. Joanna has had a pretty big part starting in season 3 and now leading into season 4. She's had an encounter with Jesus at the Sermon on the Mount. She's had an encounter with John the Baptist, and she's very much on Team Jesus and using her funds and her wealthiness to support Jesus and his mission and his ministry. So was Joanna a character that The Chosen completely made up? No, she's actually mentioned twice in the book of Luke. In Luke chapter 8 verses 2 and 3, and again in Luke 24 verse 10. In Luke 8 verses 2 and 3 it says, "And also some women who had been healed from evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, and Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's household manager, and Susanna, and many others, who provided for them out of their means." So Joanna is mentioned here, and in Luke 24 verse 10 it says, "Now it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary the mother of James and the other women with them who told these things to the apostles." So Joanna is mentioned earlier in the book of Luke, and then she obviously stays with Jesus and the disciples until the resurrection. So it's safe to assume that she possibly could have been a believer at some point, and it's really, really cool. And she is mentioned that she is the wife of Chuzo. I mean, she had a good bit of money. We see that portrayed here very accurately in The Chosen seasons 3 and 4. Joanna using her funds to help support Jesus and his ministry, as it said in Luke chapter 8. That's what she did. Joanna is a great character. I love to see her inclusion in The Chosen seasons 3 and 4. Especially in this episode, she did a great job.
My queen, I know the baptizer insulted you, but they are...
Insulted.
Now let's talk about Herodias and Herod and Salome, our villains who we love to hate. Herodias is the wife of King Herod, and she does not like John the Baptist at all. As we see in Matthew chapter 14, John the Baptizer calls out Herodias and Herod on their sketchy relationship. Herodias was the wife of Herod's half-brother, and whether or not her marriage to Herod was a power move or just infidelity or something else, John the Baptizer certainly didn't stand for it, and Herodias didn't like that one bit. In Mark 6 verse 19, we learn that Herodias had a grudge against John the Baptist and wanted him put to death. But as we learn in the canonical Gospels, Herod threw a birthday party, and Herodias convinced her daughter Salome to dance for Herod and get him to grant her whatever she wanted, which included John the Baptist's head. So Herodias is a very villainous character here in The Chosen Season 4. And shout out to Shireen Khan, who plays Herodias in The Chosen Season 4 and does a great job at making her a character that's very entertaining to watch.
John came to prepare the way. And he did.
Some honorable mentions of some smaller details, things you might have missed, things you might not have noticed. Joanna was not present at Herod's birthday party, not because she was already on her way to Jesus and the disciples, but because she just didn't want to go. Her husband Chuzo was with another lady, and she didn't like that very much, so she decided to skip out on the party. As we see later in the episode, she's holding the decree that John the Baptist has been killed, so that means that she left to go tell Jesus and the disciples that John was dead after Herod's party. There was no reason for her not to be there besides the fact that she didn't want to. At least I think that's what that means. I might be reading too much into that, but that kind of stuck out to me as a cool detail and a cool little insight to Joanna's character. Now, another honorable mention of a cool detail is that John chapter 1 is referenced near the end of the episode after Jesus' disciples receive the heartbreaking news that John the Baptist has been beheaded. John, the disciple, is the first to realize that John the Baptist did in fact clear the way for Jesus, as is referenced in John chapter 1. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but he came to bear witness about the light. And in verse 15 he says, John bore witness about him and cried out, "This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me ranks before me, because he was before me." John chapter 1 is really about John the Baptist, and it's cool that they kind of referenced it with John the Apostle being the first to recognize that John the Baptist did in fact clear the way. Now, real quick, before I give you my fifth and final detail that you missed from The Chosen Season 4, Episode 1 promises, be sure to subscribe to Against the Current, The Chosen podcast. I'm going to be coming out with tons, and I mean tons of content about The Chosen Seasons 4, 5, and beyond, so you're going to want to stay updated on everything that's happening in The Chosen community. If you're a fan, if you're not a fan, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll be updated on everything going on in Chosen Land right here on Against the Current, The Chosen podcast.
You wouldn't get it.
Are those your final words?
And for our fifth and final detail, let's talk about John the Baptist's final words. Now, this was a decision that, in my opinion, might have been a little controversial, but The Chosen decided to depict John the Baptist's final words concretely and have them be written down, which John the Baptist's final words are, "You wouldn't get it." As John the Baptist is about to lose his head, the Roman guard places a wedding dinner banquet plate under him. John the Baptist notes that he's never been to a wedding, but he's going to go to one soon. and the Roman soldiers don't really get what he means. He says, "You wouldn't get it," and the Roman centurion asks, "Are those your final words?" Now, this whole scene has a bit of a double meaning. Obviously, John the Baptist is referring to the fact that he is going to a wedding in heaven after he dies to be with the Lord and with Jesus eternally. And we'll see a little bit more of what the Chosen is trying to say here in the next episode in the cold open. But John the Baptist saying, "You wouldn't get it," is an amazing double meaning play on words, for John is referring to the fact that, as the angel told Zechariah and Elizabeth in Luke chapter 1, John did lead many people to Christ and he prepared the way for Jesus, but there were a lot of people at the time who didn't get it. John the Baptist saying to these Roman soldiers, "You wouldn't get it," is referencing the fact that many people didn't understand that he was there to make the way for Jesus. Some even confused him as a prophet himself. But John did accomplish his mission, and that is the most important thing. As John the Baptist is about to have his head chopped off, he looks out the window and sees a lamb there standing in the sunlight, which is one of the most beautiful shots in the show's entire history, and just the symbolism of John seeing the Lamb of God and the way prepared that his work is done is so beautiful, and I love the Chosen's creative artistry, and this is just the perfect example of the geniuses behind this show and how they weave storytelling into every aspect of it. The Chosen Season 4, Episode 1 Promises was a beautiful piece of television, and I am so happy that everyone can finally see it now. If I answered some questions you had or point out some things you missed, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. And I promise you that I've got more on my channel like it, so check out other videos. There's going to be 2 recommended to you at the end of this video. And if you haven't checked out my interview with the director himself, Dallas Jenkins, I would highly recommend you go check that out. That's really where I got my start here on YouTube. I am so excited to watch these episodes with you guys and talk about them as they come out to the Chosen app, which, by the way, is the only place you can watch Season 4 right now. So if you're hyped for the rest of the Chosen Season 4, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. I'll see you guys later in the week as we talk about Season 4, Episode 2, and in the coming weeks as the other episodes drop. Thank you so much for watching. I highly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Binge Jesus.